Yo, what's going on? It's Officer Cornelio, DBA, doing business as. Here today to bring to you another episode of Think Like a Cop, and I just want to talk a little bit about, what's standard and what's code and what's ethical for yourself, as a LLC, whether you're a limited liability company or you're a limited liability corporation. Those two they differ from each other. Nevertheless, okay, you're a self-employed contractor like myself. You're an independent contractor. So I have a couple different LLCs, and that becomes a little bit confusing to some people who don't know me, but get to know the man behind the name. All right. First off, we're gonna talk about my jacket here. I sewed this badge on my jacket, and if you look behind me, you can see that I sewed. Hopefully, I got it all. I don't have eyes in the back of my head. Despite common belief. A little joke there for you this afternoon. So I sewed that on the back there. Underneath this jacket, I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt and another long sleeve underneath there. Okay, that both have a badge on the sleeve right there. Now, what makes this ethical and what makes this not fraudulent? Okay. See, when you have your own business, you definitely 100%, you can run things by your own standard. Okay. And when you have your own standard, you have codes, but most importantly, you have a policy. Okay. You have a mission statement. You have all these things that I told you can include in your employee handbook, so the people that work for you exclusively know what your company stands on as far as principles, so that they reflect these same values to other people in verbal communication, as well as behavior and the way that they act when they're on the job. Okay, whether they're with you or whether you're not present and they're doing what you expect them to do. Nobody gets confused. Is this American Muscle Security or are these some other guys? Okay. Now, this badge originally said, what did it say? It said Allied Universal Security Services. Okay. So what I had to do, I had to get some white thread, which was the closest that I could get the gray. But it's all right. I'm saying it'll work for now. Because as long as I cover that Allied Universal up, and the only thing that's legible is security services, that eliminates the impression and just really all together, it eliminates the potential for confusion to come about whenever somebody says, are they really a security service? Are they really a security guard or officer? Because security services means I could be a guard, or I could be an officer, or I could be a chief security officer, or, believe it or not, I could be an auxiliary police officer, depending on the company. Okay? Mine or yours. But one thing's not to be confused. Am I another company that you already know? No, absolutely not. Now, some people would say, well, that's not the way that I was taught. Well, who taught you? Were you told? Then say it correctly. Then say that's not what I was told, because when you say taught, that incurs, or it gives me the idea that you went to a university, or you studied at, or you trained at a police academy, or some, security guard academy, or you had some formal training, some experience. You were taught by an expert, and not you were just told, like, you heard it through the grapevine, or rumor. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of rumors about police work. There's a lot of rumors about security work, being a bodyguard. And when you're young and you're impressionable, or when you get older and you're still impressionable, because you don't have the what it takes to, you don't have common sense. You can't retain common sense. Somebody can tell you something, you can be like, oh yeah, I believe that, but then somebody else will come and tell you a bold-faced lie, and you'll believe that also, and you'll totally disregard what was just told to you being the truth, or you won't know what to decide either way. So whenever the one side of the argument comes around, in the form of a friend or a professional questioning you, you'll agree with them while they're there, but when they leave, you agree with the person who smokes you up, or you agree with the person who doesn't beat you up, or whatever. You're an easily influenced person. You're a wish-washy, okay? So there's a lot of those. Now, what this is, and this is, why I constantly keep throwing out there, no badge left behind. This is important because this actually represents a job. To some people, it's just a title, but to other people, it's more than that. Okay, it's not a title; it's a profession. It's that and beyond. Okay, so you'll see people who will go to a secondhand store purposely to get one of these to look cool in front of people, like a jacket that will say not this, but it'll say Allied Universal, or it'll say St. Moritz, or it'll even say FBI, but it'll say female body inspector, or it might not, or whatever. And some people will do it just because, hey man, that's all that they can afford. It was the last shirt on the rack, or maybe somebody gave it to them to wear to work. Like, they have to do some job and, maybe paint a house, and they need a shirt that they can get paint on, or do some construction work, something they can get sweaty, not a button up that they're going to wear to church tomorrow. So they just threw it on, and then they happen to be wearing it after work that day when they go to the store, but they don't usually trout about in it. Okay, so you have it like that. You have different kinds of people, you know what I mean? But if your intentions is to actually wear this while you're on the job, doing your job as a security guard, and not going to the club one night, or going to school, or going out in the town so people can see you in it. If your intentions is actually what I advise anyone getting into this business, security business, or even if it's forensics, whatever you do, what I advise you do is you get a brand new badge. But if you happen to in other words, get one where you don't have to cover it with thread, okay? But you know what? If you happen to see a discount, like me, I saw the Allied Universal security jacket on sale, $10 at a thrift store on the south side, okay? I was like, oh shit, fuck yeah, you know what I mean? I'm already thinking, like, you know what I mean? Like, I could use that for my security work. But that's when you come to the crux. Okay, because this is what you cannot do, okay? Now, first off, getting an LLC is very, very extremely important, because it keeps your business from getting into trouble. It keeps you from getting into trouble, and it lets people know that you're serious about your profession, what you do, okay? Some people, they just have experience working for a company, so they get hired to be a bouncer at the door, or they get hired to be a security guard for somebody at their wedding or their graduation, or maybe even be like a bodyguard, at some fucking, at a concert. Maybe they get lucky, they get to tour with an artist, and they get to be their security guard, okay, whatever it is, all right? So you think, oh, it's all right, because this is just a regular mom and pop who's hiring you for a graduation or a wedding. You know, a regular family, a regular person, maybe somebody's throwing an event and they need a security guard, and they can't afford Allied Universal or St. Moritz, or they can't afford a police officer or whatever the case be, okay? So they want to give you a chance because you happen to say, hey man, I know how to do security. If you ever need a security guard, give me a call, okay? You didn't even give them a business card, okay? Which gives them the first signal. If nobody gives you, if you've never known anybody to ever give you or give out anybody a business card, then that's one red flag right there. That this person may be impersonating, may be impeding, or maybe they're not, but they're not serious as they should be about their presentation and about staying out of trouble, okay? Me, I always hand out business cards. I have business cards now, not on me right now, but where I'm going, I always keep them either at point A, point B, or point C. I give them to friends to in some heavy supply so they can give to me when I run out, etc., 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 etc. Okay. But I have a business card for my barber company. I have a business card for my tattoo company. Okay, service. I have a business card for my forensic service. I have a business card for my painting service. I have landscaping. Any service I provide, I get a business card for you. Whether I have an LLC for it or not, a business card it sends a better signal. All right, it's number one. Okay. But I advise you to get a regular like a shirt with a badge attached to it that says either security guard if you're a security guard, security officer if you're a security officer, or just security if you're just security. So wear the title of what you are. Don't wear a title that you're not, okay? Don't be walking down the street with a shirt that says sheriff and you never been a security guard before. You never had any interest in law. You just want to look cool, or maybe you think it's okay to wear it being a security guard at a wedding. Or something like that, you know? And you be like, what? Who the fuck would do that? No, you'd be surprised. There are some guys that would actually do that shit, all right? Okay? Don't do that, okay? Get a brand new one, okay? Okay. So, but, you know, if you see something like this, which says Allied Universal, that doesn't say sheriff, that's cool, okay? So, boom. You could just literally cover it up, okay? And then, boom, this now becomes whatever you make it. You could find somebody that actually knows how to stitch, you know, American Muscle Security or whatever the name of your company is on there. You could do it yourself if you want to look really stupid, or you could just leave it just blank. So what I'm going to do with this is actually just leave it just blank, okay? Because I don't have to, you know, I can just tell you out my mouth as I'm American Muscle Security. Now, am I going to leave it unprofessional like that? Absolutely not. There's ways, you know what I mean? Like, you got to trust the process. Like, all this shit is a process. Nothing is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, real cops are made. They're not born. They didn't come out, hey, put your hands behind your back now. You hear? They didn't come out saying that shit. You know, they had to get this shit ingrained. You know, it took years and years and years. Real security guards, real bodyguards. Even it doesn't matter what you do. Whether you're a painter, a landscaper, an EMT, a medic, a teacher, I care what you do. A doctor, you don't come out just regurgitating the shit. You know what I'm saying? And then that's only just knowing it up here. To actually walk the walk and like, yeah, that person really is a duck, okay? It's not, he doesn't just walk like a duck. 365 degrees all the way duck. All right, so, but the reason why is because this badge is a badge, okay? The shape that it's in is all the way for security, okay? You're not gonna see a shape like this for law enforcement. You're not. They'll have a star, okay? It might have 5 points. It might have 6 points. I don't know. You're gonna have to go to law school and do the homework. But when you see a law enforcement officer's badge, it's usually a star, 9 times out of 10, okay? There's some cases, some instances where a security badge may have a star, but that's usually for security officer or higher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or like a company that works with the police, like side by side, like in conjunction. Okay? Now, I want you to get in the mind frame of what this actually permits. Okay? And I want you to keep in mind two words, permit and permiss. To permit is to allow. To permiss is also to allow, but it means to allow to pass, which means that could only be for the moment. That doesn't mean that it's permanent. To permit, yeah, is usually as long as you go by the rules, the guidelines, and you don't screw up, you're permitted to do so, okay? Permiss, well, I thought it was a good idea that day, but now that I see how you're handling it, I don't think that you can handle the job, okay? Road rules, very kind of similar, all right? What gives a person the permission, okay, or the leeway to drive a car that they buy from somebody on the road as opposed to fresh off the lot, okay, from a car dealer, okay? License and registration. Not only that, tags. So what is this badge really? I just answered my question. It's a tag, okay? So when you say that to any court officer, any judge, any law enforcement officer, that's gonna be one check on the to-do list of, do you know your shit or are you full of shit? You know what I'm saying? And there's, depending on the officer, the court officer, the professional, whether it's a doctor, a professor, a teacher, a veteran, whatever it is, whatever the profession is, some people have 10, okay, if they know these 10 things, I'm sewn. Other people might be 20 things. Somebody might be 100 things. Somebody it might be, I don't know, shit. On any given day, it could be a million things. Other people, it's just one thing. Depends, whatever. But there usually is just a general, couple very important indicators that allow you to know. And one of those things is that, are you able to answer the question that I asked you just like that, like I just said? What is this? Essentially, it's a tag, okay? So, what do I mean by tag? What I mean is, you cannot drive your car, just like you cannot drive your car down the road unless you have a license plate on it, okay? You cannot operate a security business yourself unless you have some indicator as to who you are. And you're gonna say, that's not true. And I'm gonna ask you, who taught you? You know what I mean? Because I'm under the assumption you heard it as from a rumor. It was somebody blew it out their ass, and you smelt it and believed it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think this is something that came in your earlobes, or you saw with your eyes, or you were trained to do, and it went through every fiber of you, and every morsel of you came to agree and say, yeah, this is actually what it is. Okay. So, security guards have the ability to do certain things. And some of the stuff I'm just learning just now because I never really worked for a security company myself. I currently now own my own security company, but I skipped the part and I never actually worked for a security guard company. Now, what I did do that actually, covers me on that end and ensures me of not making any mistakes in what I do as far as owning a security company and operating one is I'm in law school. So I became educated. I went to an academy that is meant for, you get taught on how to be a security guard. Some people just get taught on the job. I went to school, a technical college, a couple different ones that are reputable. And I got certified in the use of force, baton, handcuffing, the use of a taser, all of those things, awareness, security management, you name it. Every form of logistics. So I got a lot of education when it comes to security guard. I paid for it, okay? This is not from Coursera, not EDX. American Eagle Protective Services is a academy based out of Texas, okay? It's a woman-owned academy, but men and women study there, and it's online, and you could get certified for a lot of stuff. You just got to go on there and find out yourself, but it's mostly meant for security guards. It can help you if you want to be a law enforcement officer in some ways, but mostly if you want to go the law enforcement route, you're going to have to go to police academy. You're going to have to get your Act 235 if you want to do most of what law enforcement officers do. Unless you want to be a forensics officer, then, there's some things that you don't have to do, okay? But, but essentially, as a security guard, you can make what's known as a citizen's arrest, okay? But it's really, 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 really risky, okay? And the type of arrest that you make is kind of a little bit above a citizen's arrest. It's more like a civilian's arrest because you're a civilian officer, okay? But you shouldn't do it unless you're literally there and your boss tells you, okay, put this person in handcuffs. Because what has to be done after that is they have to be transported to a jail. So an actual law enforcement officer has to do that. So if you put them in handcuffs that belong to you, you're gonna have to actually take them out of those handcuffs, and you're gonna have to actually do it 100% to the discretion of what a law enforcement officer would say. Okay, that suffices. They're never gonna ever say that was a bright idea for you to do it. But if you absolutely 100% had no choice but to do it, because everybody on the scene was in imminent danger and you were told to do it by your boss, you covered your ass by the skin of your teeth, okay? The job of a security guard is usually not to make an arrest, whether it's a citizen's arrest or any arrest, or use their handcuffs at all. It's only for imminent danger, imminent threats, or, believe it or not, you're not really a crash test dummy. You're not really a decoy, but you're like an extra. You're like a person that gets to just be there in case somebody needs you. So if there happens to be a law enforcement officer or your boss that needs something on your person, like your handcuffs, like your radio, which is your walkie-talkie, your whistle, anything, whatever you got, your baton, whatever you are allowed to use, or you shouldn't be carrying it at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, say they get, they tackled somebody to the ground that they have to hold in place until law enforcement comes, or they're a security officer, but they also happen to be a cop too, which you'd be surprised, stranger things have happened. Hey, you see it, oh my God, they tackle somebody to the ground, they go to put the cuffs on them, and they do, but the guy says they're tight, and he's fat, he's heavy or obese, so he needs an extra pair of cuffs to make it, give him a little leeway as far as, being able to not be hurt, okay? So, let me use your cuffs, give me your cuffs, okay? So if he says gimme, that's an order, okay? I don't care if he's your boss or not. If he's a law enforcement officer, you have to do what he tells you, okay? Even if he just happens to just drive on the scene to respond to something. Maybe you're the one that radioed your boss and your boss radioed him or her. You know what I mean? Whatever they need, if it's on your person, you help them, okay? Now, if they say, help me restrain this person, I really wouldn't do it. That would, to me, appear to be an officer that doesn't know, what their job entails. they're actually supposed to radio for help. There's supposed to be somebody higher up than you to actually do that for you. Now, if your boss and your security company tells you to do something, I wouldn't do it either if it sounds something like that. If it sounds like something that's in your means of what you're supposed to do, what you're allowed to do, all right, yeah, okay? But that takes a lot of studying, okay? So first off, what are you educated to do, okay? What do you have the certification to do? What do you have the license to do? Check Google. Check different sources. Ask detectives. Ask officers. Ask female officers. Ask male officers. Ask everybody. Ask professors. Ask every form of person so you can get every angle so you can know that you're 100% not incorrect. Okay, as much as you can be. Okay? Some states don't require state licenses to do certain things, but most of them do, okay? So, again, you can't, just like you can't drive on the road without a license, okay? Unless you work for a security company and your boss says it's okay not to wear your shirt that day, or whatever the case is, this badge means you have the permission by the highest jurisdiction that can be above you to exercise a limited amount of authority that is described in your mission statement and your code of all of that, okay? In your company statements, okay? Your articles of organization, your statements of organizer, whatever it is, okay? And if it's not your company, it's going to be the company that you work for. Some people don't realize that you're working for a company and they have a statement of an organizer, articles of organization, because you never see it. That's for the boss to see. But if you work for a company that's an LLC, yeah, they definitely have that, okay? Even if it's a corporation, S Corp, C Corp, whatever it is, partnership, firm, they have that. You know what I'm saying? You should know that. It should have been in your employee handbook. You should have read that. Okay? If you have a company, you should create one so nobody can be confused as to what exactly does your business do. Okay? So again, when you're driving a car, you need a license plate, but you also need the paperwork. So what else do I have besides this to state exactly who I am? I have a letter from the IRS that says American Muscle Security LLC. So I'm an entity to the federal government. Okay. Also from the state, I have papers, articles of organization, statement of the organizer from the state, from the secretary of the state, or something like that. Yeah. From Harrisburg, okay, that says, okay, this guy, has an active entity and we recognize it as an active entity. This is what he stated. He was set himself out to do. So if you catch this guy doing anything that is outside of this statement, I have these papers right here in Harrisburg that says he told us this is only what his company was going to do. Okay, so some of you people may not think that, you get pulled over and you're like a bodyguard, you're on a tour bus for some artist, and you're trying to explain to the police that everything is all good and dandy, but your company, you're a buddy guard, a BUDDY guard, and not a bodyguard. Okay. And they're like, well, the radio, whoever's on the radio, they're saying you got to come with us, or maybe not you, but this person and that person on the bus, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. So the car stays here. It might even get impounded. You guys are going to have to leave the bus, or the car, the van, whatever it is. You're going to have to walk to wherever you got to go to. The nearest hotel could be 50 miles. There's too many people to give you a ride unless you want us to call for more paddy wagons. But this is the way that it has to be, because it all comes down like that from the top. Okay? So make sure you always have your paperwork on you. Okay, and make sure you're abiding by what your paperwork says. Okay, and not just that, you stand on your company statement. Okay. So if somebody's like, oh, this guy's out here saying that he's a cop or a law enforcement officer, whatever, you can say, no, this is what I was saying that I really was. This is what I was doing. Or this under this pretense and not under that pretense. Or I never really ever actually said anything to this person. And that's another reason why you should always have your body cam on. Or if you don't have a body cam, use your cell phone, okay? I don't give a fuck if you have to get a recorder app and literally as soon as somebody starts heckling you, literally hit record. And a lot of times I make the mistakes because, see, people never want to be proven wrong, okay? So somebody may have a problem with what you're doing, but, you know, they have a problem calling the police. You call it, well, you know, if you have a problem with what I'm doing, why don't you just, you know, you want to say call the cops. You know, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to call the cops. They're going to be like, oh, you're a snitch. Or how can you be a cop and you call the cops? Or how are you a security guard? Or you're a bitch. Or you're a rat. You're not a security guard. You're a rat. You're not a friend stuff. You know what I mean? All of that. Don't even do that. And sometimes I forget. And it really makes you look stupid. Sometimes I forget. All right? Just literally hit record. Okay? I don't care if you have to film them. If you film them, look, you see how my hand is out here like that? Don't do that. Don't film them like literally right in their face. Literally keep the camera right here, tucked. So if they reach, all you got to do is turn and they just hit your face, okay? And you caught it on camera because you kept it like that, okay? Or they touched your body. Keep it close to your body, okay? Don't put it to that because that's a little bit too much, all right? You know, you can keep it here, but I wouldn't do that. Either way, they're going to smack your hand. Your phone's going to hit the ground. What I would actually do is I just literally get the recorder app. And, you know, that way, you know, believe it or not, that's the reason why I keep multiple phones on me. Some people are like, why do you got multiple phones on you? That makes you look broke. One to record you so the judge can see your face. One to record the audio in case I drop it while I'm laughing to the bank, okay? And I'm not going to be laughing. It's not a laughing matter, but